So I traded like a piece of shit today. There's just no other way to describe this. It's a green day, yes, but I don't really judge my performance by whether I'm green or red. I judge it by whether I traded well, follow my rules, my plan, my setups. And today was just, I just didn't trade well. I broke a lot of rules. And being that it's the first trading day of the month of August, I'm a little bit frustrated and disappointed in myself, to be honest. So let's go over a couple trades. This is a green trade, DTSS, but it's a small green because I missed the short opportunity to add to full size around $7 here, the spike to 7.18. It just got rejected so fast and so heavy. You can see I had like starter size pre-market scalding around this area, 780s and some around 620s, because if you see on the daily charts, lots of failed spikes and it's a form of dilutioning. They've been doing this kind of stuff for a while with the daily chart. This stock, DTSS, almost always do a parabolic move up and then just sell off after the open, and that's why I scalding short. Small pre-market, but I missed the ad, so that's a frustrating part. I did add here around 4s and then 5s and got some nice downside to 370s, but it could have been a lot bigger and a little bit disappointed with the trade. I was positioned to being a very nice trade, being early with starter size, but I just didn't get to add fast enough. And this one's okay, but the most frustrating trade is KODK. I actually had such an amazing entry pre-market over here, $22, man, and then the stock spiked to 26. But I had wanted a rebound move on the daily to 30s and maybe higher. We just didn't get that. And, even with starter size, I think I should have managed it better. Maybe cut it around 22.70s when it was so weak pre-market. I was just trying to be patient. I'm trying to let it work so I can get a 30s and 35s and add to the winner. So it turned out to be a small loser, which is fine, but it's just a little bit frustrating. You can see I cut my starter size around 20s, got some slippage, so 1980s, about $3 a share loss on small size, which I'm fully comfortable with. It's just like, in hindsight, of course, everything's clear in hindsight. I should have cut it a little bit earlier or taken the profit at $26. That would have been nice, but it just didn't work out that way. I did try to reloan this thinking the same idea, didn't get that, and I did cut it. So two small losses on KODK. It's still frustrating because of the way the trade was managed. It's a small loss, so small loss on starter size. So that's totally fine. The other stock that's really frustrating though, ADT. So this stock, I had a nice win early on, 15 to 17s, and I did think that we're gonna get a continuation to 20s, and that's why I started a little bit too early, I will admit, around 17s. After the young hold small, I was wanted to build a nice position to get another one of those move where it reclaims 15s and move higher. And then you can see I had some small re-add and added some more. I think this is the bad add here. After it breaks down 15, I should have, cut it. But at that point, I was thinking at such a small size, I could, give it one more chance. And could have, should have, would have, shouldn't have done it. So, it turned out to be a decent loss. Should have been a small loss, but after the add and after the cut, you can see I did try to go back and re-hit this long again. Didn't work. So it just was extremely choppy and it wasn't a clean trade and it didn't get a nice trend like I had wanted to. A couple of small losses added up to a loss that kind of chopped away my small win on DTSS. So it's a little bit unfortunate. Not a clean trade. I'm just very disappointed. So very nice day today. I traded a lot better. I'm very happy with how I managed my winners and my losers. But as usual, let's talk about loser on the day first. KODK. Again, it's the same loser as yesterday, but the difference is that today I managed the loser a lot better. I cut it a lot sooner. So even though I did take 3 paper cuts on this trade, still ended up red on this name, but it's a lot smaller. And in trading, that's all that matters, right? It's not about not losing. It's about when you lose, you want to make sure you lose small. So KODK ended up being, looking like I should have just scalped this instead of holding for a bigger move on the daily. As you can can see, we had a nice pop towards almost 18 and then got sold off. So I should have sold into this instead of holding on and turned this into a small loss. But lesson learned on this name. So after the loser, we have the other stocks I played. The biggest winner on the day is SSNT. And this one, I had a lot of adding into this. So I'm very happy about this trade. Yes, I did start pre-market, covered most, reshorted again, covered most, but I did try to hold more size and add into it after the open, after we proved to be extremely heavy. I mean, the stock was up, I think 500% off some, bullshit news, merger acquisition, and some other, the same crap like this for these kind of small cap stocks. I just really had no chance of bouncing because it's extremely heavy, even pre-market. You can see after the open, we can barely bounce. So had a nice short pre-market already added into this around $10 and covered into this and reshorted some around 9, and I was all out. Didn't hold it all the way till 580s. That would have been nice, but it was getting pretty late here in Taiwan. So very decent play. The other few that I also traded, this one is just a really small one, pre-market SONN SONN. You remember we traded this one on Friday. So I think they released another one of those pump news. Pre-market, the stock spiked from 360 all the way to 570s. That's where I started shorting. Cover some. I was all out by the open because I wanted to focus on SSNT. So this is a small winner. The bigger winner was JMIA. This one I shorted first, longed here, and then reshorted again. But looking in hindsight, I should have stayed with this a lot longer. You can see the stock dropped all the way to 16s, but I only caught the front side of the move, but not the back side because again, it was getting late here in Taiwan. So started in small pre-market. You can see the daily were extremely extended, and that's why I started in early and added around 2050s after we opened up really weak. In hindsight, I should have covered most into this 1920s, but I thought we were gonna get this kind of move to the downside early on, which is why I stayed with it. You can see I even added here around 20s. But once we started holding around this level, that's where I got concerned about my short position. So you can see I started covering up. So the earlier short was a small winner. Could have been a lot bigger, but I want to protect in case this kind of squeeze move happens, which it did. So I was not involved in this kind of squeeze. This is where I did get some scalp long here on the stock. I longed some here. The long position was really small. I longed here and sold into this move here. And this is where I thought, we could get one more long here, which is I did try, but I didn't really get much. I actually only got 23 to 23.15s because it was kind of starting to be kind of toppy. You can see it get kind of messy here. That's because I was trying to see if I should scale in short. Because if the breakout struggled so much, it should have pushed to 24 and higher on the daily. But when we're struggling so much and holding on for so long, this kind of move could happen. Did I know it was going to happen? No, I didn't. But it could, right? Then the tape was kind of showing some struggle around this breakout area. That's why I scaled in short. I did get fake out a little bit, which is why you see some covers here. So in hindsight, I should have stayed with this and be a lot more patient like I did here, but I just wasn't, right? Because if it does break out, I'm going to get squeezed for 2 points. So, the better play was to add into this short. You can see I added here after it confirms that it's gonna fail this breakout. So that's what I did. I did cover up some up here for some small losses, but that's okay. That gave me the room to add back in after we confirm a breakdown of 23s. So that's why I added and didn't do that well on my covers. I was all out by 2170s or 2160s or so, and missed a lot of this because I didn't know if we were gonna bounce off and go higher or do this. So could have made more, but could have, would have, should have. That's the stuff that's gonna kill you in day trading. The best way is to learn your lesson So I learned my lesson on this today. And next time, you're gonna get the same kind of setups again, and you'll be able to execute a lot better. So pretty slow day, to be honest. On the small cap side, we didn't have any crazy moves. Did have some trades on the large caps. So, small wins added up, I guess. But overall, pretty uneventful day. Disney was the stock that was in play, and I missed the run from 123 all the way to 129. I did try to scalp it short, just small counter trend trading. I do that once a while, but when I do, it's with really small size. So I scaled in short on this parabolic breakup around 128, and then added some more 129, almost 130s. That gave me a nice average about 129.10s, and I covered into here. So nothing huge. After the shorts, I did try to go long. Had a starter around 128, but it was taking a long time, and we didn't think, it didn't seem like we're going higher on a trend. So I did cut it for a 50 cents loss on starter size long. That was fine. And then after we break the downtrend, I did try to go in long again. This time I got, I guess, the breakout to 129s, and so another small win. Should have went back in on this dips. You can see the stock later climbed all the way to 130s, but it was a small mover, so I just didn't have the patience for it. But still traded nicely on Disney. The other stock that was the majority of the profit was on the short side was on NVAX. So this stock, it's breaking to new highs again. So each time it does that on this day and this day, it kind of trades in a very similar fashion. If you look at the intraday charts on these breakout days, you can see what I'm talking about. And so, identify the key level around 184.50s. And once we break down, it usually gives us some very nice range. My first trade is actually on the long side, 178, sold it into the push, 187s, and then 184s. So you can see after the initial long, I sold it. This is why I started scaling in short. And I did get, I was trying to be cautious because I wasn't sure if we're gonna test 190s and potentially pre-market highs, but wide range, also high spread. You kind of need to manage your risk and keep it pretty tight or to size down. So I did try to, cover some just in case it rips on me, and covered some here. Unfortunately, I did take some small losses on the short side. But once it starts rejecting, that's why I put back in the short, covered some on the way down. And I did get chopped up a little bit. It seems like it wants to break out again. But after this lower high sets in, that's why that added back into full size short. On the breakdown of VWAP here, added some more. Again, it did try to break out again, making a third lower high. But this time, I finally learned my lesson after this time and this time. I didn't get stopped out. And that's why we got some very nice flush all the way to 176s and then 172s. So, if you scale in short or long slowly on these larger names and manage your risk tightly with scaling in and out, you can get some very big moves. So I did have one final ad, and the best cover was 173 on the short side. And then this is where I started to think, we might actually reclaim, and, I kind of want to get in on some long side, because I was thinking we might get this kind of move that we got all the way to 182s here. That's what I thought. But when that didn't work, I cut the small long early on. So, on the long side, the second trade, I lost about $3 a share. So that's unfortunate. Did give back some initial profits from the long in the morning from 179 all the way to like 184 and 87. So gave some back on the long side. But overall, the bigger trade was on the short side, and really happy with it. So the only small cap trade was actually a really small winner, just because it's a smaller range, and I didn't get the nice ad here. So, small trades, they still add up. Can't have home runs every single day, right? So I started short, pre-market, just small wins, shorted here, shorted some more, covered all into $2. Once we start to hold, sells all out. Did try to reshort here, and I cut it really quickly here. Didn't want to get too big and too fast in case we do rip to $3. I really had thought, once we break out at the open here, we're gonna test 3 and go higher, and maybe 360s. It is a low float stock, but it just kind of started selling off right at the open. You can see I did have a starter short here, and then but never got to add, and I was all out of the short. Small winner, maybe like 30 cents. And I re-added here, and then my best cover was 194s. And you can see the stock did later tank all the way to 160s. That would have been nice if I held all the way down. It was low volume range, and it was just so slow for the small cap, so I just kind of took it off. So today's one of those days where a lot of like small winners, they still add up to a decent day. Nothing huge, but just trying to be consistent and keeping my losers small at the same time. It's a red day recap. Traded 2 tickers, ADTX, and also a large cap stock, FSLY. And ironically, it's a large cap stock that I lost more. The ADTX trade, I had made money on the early on. You can see if I had just did one trade and left it, I would have been green on this name. But no, I decided to go back and get chopped up and basically gave away all my morning gains. But first trade was on the short side. I started short in pre-market. We got some very nice follow through. I basically had a short about 940s. Covered some here and was all out of the morning short by $7. So, that was a very clean and very nice trade. I did try to go back here and here. Really small size short. I covered here, you can see there's a green arrow here. So I covered the secondary shorts for like tiny gains and tried to long this here actually, believe it or not. And it got chopped up. You can see some sell candles here. I actually re-longed it here and I got a very nice scalp long. So I did make small profit on the long side, but I sold into this, and this is where I started going short. And in hindsight, of course, it was too risky of a trade, but there was just so much selling each time they tried to break out, and it did seem like they're gonna spike and then drop again, which it did, but I just couldn't risk the hold on the way up, and that's why I covered my shorts here. And I did lose a good chunk of money on the short side. That basically put me in the red. After the hold, I did re-shorted here, and I was all out here just because of price action. It was extremely choppy, and the volume was really low, so I decided to leave it alone. So, overall, it's red on the short side, small profit on the long side. But overall, I did the best I could. I followed my plan, both on the long side and short side. And I would have traded the same way with any other stock on any other given day. But today just, the action was a hard read on this ticker. But actually, this wasn't a bad loss. So the bigger loss is actually on FSLY, FSLY. And unfortunately, the stock did eventually do the plan I had, reclaiming VWAP and breaking out back to 91s. Because, remember, this stock is actually gapped down on overreaction. They had amazing earnings, but also at the same time, the company revealed that 12% of their revenue was reliant on TikTok. And obviously, TikTok, there's a lot of talks about they're gonna get banned. The app is gonna get banned in the United States. And so that's what the concern is. In hindsight, I think I was a little bit too convicted of my plan. I mean, it did eventually do what I thought it would, but I was just I was just too early. And then, I had some very nice entries here on the long side. I should have sold into the push early on. But, I did try to go back and try to re-execute the same trade again, and it just didn't work. So it's a lot of small losses that led this ticker to be, pretty red on the name for me. And a lot of outstaying my patience, and could have done a lot better on this. But overall, it's a manageable loss. Long here, trying to, I think we're gonna break out. The volume was strong at the time. That's why I thought we were gonna get more continuation. When that didn't work, I had to cut it. I did try again here and here. Again, decent entries, but at that point was still downtrending at the time, and I definitely outstayed, and I gave the stock a little bit too much room to work. So just like a lot of paper cuts that led to a pretty decent sized loss on FSLY. Overall, it's a step back. Today, lost about a day's profit, a little bit more than a day's profit, but still manageable. So, live to trade another day. Not every every day is gonna be, sunshine and raining Lamborghinis, but definitely a lot to learn. And, it's interesting because a lot of times I feel like I'm not letting my trades work enough. I don't have the patience for that. But there's also on the other side, sometimes I'm too patient. Like this stock and the way I traded KODK on Monday and Tuesday. So, sometimes you're too patient, sometimes I'm not patient enough, but, live and learn, right? So, going to end the week really nicely, recovered the losses from yesterday and more. But today is one of those days where, a lot of base hits, they definitely added up. And being patient. Let's talk about the first trade. RKT is the first trade I took. Just because small caps, there wasn't a lot of amazing setups for me. So RKT, this is an IPO from yesterday. We traded nicely, gapping up over, I guess, 5 points after close. And I was leaning in long biased, but then before the market opens, it immediately went parabolic to the upside. And when a lot of times when this kind of moves, parabolic moves happens, you get a really quick downside as well on the parabolic as well. So that's why I leaned in short. You can see I basically top ticked it, but I was only in half the position. I have way more to add, but even so, that still gave me a very nice 1 point, 2 point really quickly. And you see I did re-add here. I did re-add some here on this VWAP and add it back in. And you can see, I did cover most of it here, but I did re-add back in after all these lower highs formed and risking the reclaim of VWAP level 2580s. And then we got a lot of nice follow through to the downside. And I was pretty much all out of the shorts here. I was all out, and then I did try to re-hit it. And once we start holding, this is where I actually considered taking a long position, which I did here, starter size. My original bias was long, to be honest. I, didn't see a short until it did this kind of parabolic move to the upside. So this is where I see that, okay, if we start holding 24s, we can get this kind of move towards 25, at least 1 point down upside and potentially more. But once we're still really weak, I sold my long here and I flipped short. I was already in a short earlier, so my secondary short was just a scalp for me. Even then, that's still a very nice move with 24 all the way down to $23. I'll take that any day. And I also out on the short. I did try to re-hit it again, and when that didn't work, I covered it for a small loss on the last trade on this ticker. So this is the biggest trade on the day for me, just because of the range, not because of the size. But I was pretty patient with this, and I'm very happy with the follow through, even though the long didn't work out. The second trade I did was AMPC. This one's gapping up a lot. Pre-market, I think about 150% off some bullshit news basically, and I scaled in short. We did keep on running up, but I kind of want to wait and let it work out pre-market to see whether I should add or cut it off, which I did here and here, just because a certain chat room was pumping it and I didn't want to be a part of that, whether on the long side or the short side. So I was all out of the short, and you can see the stock just dumped, right? When you have artificial buying volume, the people who bought around the same price, and when they will have the same entry looking for the same thing, and they don't get that push to 11s, they're probably all gonna sell together, right? So that's the idea behind this kind of dump move, which it did happen. I was away for the hold. I was not involved with this. It's not until after this hold down that I reshorted. I reshorted here and here. I did feel like they were gonna get one more hold up, so I did cover some. So that left me some very, very small position that I can ride out all the way to about low 8s, and I was all out. And at the time, I was kind of trying to concentrate on RKT, so I never added. In hindsight, I should have added and maybe ride it out a lot longer to 760. So I would have been an extra 40 cents to a downside. But it's also a Friday. I don't want to outstay my welcome on Fridays. Historically, it was my worst trading days. Now it's been changing just because I'm more cognizant of my bad performance days. So on Fridays, I'm always extra careful about my ads, about shorting, and especially when it comes to these low float stocks. On the third trade, actually I should have talked about this sooner, KZIA. So this one, it's a very small trade. I had a long here, I had a short here, basically canceled out, just because the price action was a little bit hard to read. I was short early on, it didn't seem like we're gonna, break down, and I covered, and then it literally dumped after I covered. And same way here, seems like we're gonna try to push and retest 880s and 9s, and I got long here. Starter size didn't work and got out, so it's a loss on the short side. Sorry, on the long side as well. So basically a small loss for this ticker. So other than that, a very clean trading day for me. I'm very happy about it. It's also Friday, so I'm just happy to be traded well and traded pretty cleanly and didn't get into any headaches. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and the bad jokes. If you want to see more day trading content, make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more. If you'd like to trade with me daily and get my free weekend watch list and trading journal, make sure to check out the links below for more resources. Stay green, stay positive, and I'll see you guys next time.